I've always liked kind of photography, but playing with computers and drawing, and printmaking let me bring all those things together more so than any other media that I've ever been involved with. So it kind of checks all the boxes for me.
Are we ready? I guess not.
I've had work kind of all over the place in most of the provinces in Canada, commercially represented at a few galleries, including Slate in Regina. And some of the big highlights I've shown in Japan and China, Germany, Spain, France, the United States. Went and lived for 6 months in Kyoto when I was on sabbatical with my partner and my kids. I was struck by how little I knew of the language. I knew like 3 words, but how my work is about language and communication. That's like fundamentally what my work is about. And it allows me, in a way that I think is quite sincere, to bring those aspects in as an investigation of language, but also the aesthetic part, the design part. It's not just about appropriating another alphabet and sticking it in because it looks cool. It's from a place of like respect, and it became really easy for me to look at ways to bring what I saw there into the work I was making at the time, as well as the work I'm kind of continuing to make right now. I had a cousin who's like 6 or 7 years older than me, and one year she gave me a sketchbook. I remember thinking, wow, this is like something that an artist has, a sketchbook. Fast forward several years, I'm in high school. I did a dry point etching, so just drawing directly onto a plate, and it was a portrait of Kurt Cobain from Nirvana, and Nirvana was at the absolute apex of their game. And I remember making this and thinking, wow, that's such a cool thing. But it never really dawned on me that this was even anything other than an experience I was having in high school. I had a fantastic art teacher named Mrs. Martelli. She was wild and was really encouraging, and she said, you know, Rob, you could go to university to do art if you wanted to. That would be a kind of a neat thing. And I hadn't really thought of it, and I didn't really know that I wanted to be an artist per se at that point, but I did think, I want to go to university. That sounds like a lot of fun. If I can get in because I do art stuff, then great. And so honestly, it wasn't until I was a couple of years into my degree that it kind of came back around to the idea that, oh, I might want to make a life out of this.
I'm throwing blows while you waiting for the bell to ring. Drugs smoking, razors make the pasta sweet. Slumped over when the barrel in your pasture meat. Stay lean like some motherfucking ostrich.
Otis Truszkowski was my prof at Queen's. It really kind of dawned on me, wow, I would like to be like him when I get older. You know, I'd like to have that job. I'd like to be a prof. I'd like to be an artist. So passionate about what he did. And that's kind of the way that I've always conducted myself. If I'm an artist first, then that's why I have any business being here at all. You know, he sent me a message to say, hey Rob, what do you think about this? Should I do this? Would this work? And I thought, wow, what an amazing life to have this person who I like really look up to kind of asking me for help. I named my son Otis. So my son is named Otis after Otis Truszkowski. April or May of 2007, one of my former profs sent me a job posting that was out here in Regina. It was a 1-year gig. And you want to know why I came out here? Because there was one printmaking professor job in 2007, and I got it. We moved out here, and that's how we ended up out here. Yes, I did come to Saskatchewan to change the printmaking world, but the nature of getting a prof job, if you're committed to that as a thing you want to do, then you'll go where the jobs become available. They're super competitive. There's not very many of them. There's a lot of people who want them. And so it's not about, you know, being braggadocious. It's just a simple fact. I got the job and I said, I might not get the next one I applied for. If a student can take something out of what I'm teaching, even just a way of thinking about life and thinking about art, and apply it to whatever it is that makes them happy, then I feel like I'm doing a good job. And I think that sort of enthusiasm, you know, there's a joke, there's like the cult of Rob in printmaking. I think that there has to be a little of that, because if it's an uninspiring place to be, no one's going to be here. 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 When I first arrived here, there was no silkscreen printing. There was no plate lithography. There was no letterpress area whatsoever, none of the letterpresses stuff. The darkroom was very different. So every single semester it's kind of changed. That's what I see the future of the studio looking like. My students get to try, using computers and photography to make artwork, but they're also using old lead type, stuff that's 100, 150 years old. So I don't see it as dying, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a cheerleader of it. I really do see it as a very contemporary practice in that it looks forward and it looks backward, but it's about what is happening right now. You see how alive and well printmaking is in all these little places. So I always joke about making prints in a basement in Regina and how it's this very small microcosmic environment. But in fact, it's just one cell in this much bigger organism that's alive and well. You're going to find people in the world, and that's maybe why the world we're living in right now, which is so hyper-connected the way it is why a practice that could easily be obsolete is thriving, because there are ways for people to find one another. Training is important, and understanding the value and the kind of intensity that's needed to be an artist is another part of it. An artist is not the same as a cardiologist, but I don't think that people declare that they're cardiologists because they have a passing interest in, the vascular system. I think that you become a cardiologist because you care about it, and you care about it enough to really invest yourself, your time, and your kind of whole thing in learning what that is so that you can do that thing. But it's not that far of an analogy to say that claiming that you're something is only part of it. There has to be more to it. I didn't realize that it was something that I should be worried about. And in some ways that freed me to just really experience it and not be worried that, oh gosh, I can't be an artist because that's too scary, or it's too unstable, or it's too pretentious to sound like an artist, because that's what happens with a lot of students. They get really upset at the notion that they have to talk about their work, because then all of a sudden they have to confront the fact that they're training to become an artist. And it's easy to say you're an artist when you're a kid, and it's much harder when you're about to go out into the world. Oh my gosh, I'm going to be an artist? No, I'm not an artist, because that's maybe a mistake. There's a movie called Gattaca, which I really like. It's kind of a post-future dystopian thing, and the general sense is that the main character was not genetically produced to be the thing that he's become. He's talking to his brother, and his brother, who has a better genetic profile than him, and the brother says, "How did you beat me when we would swim at night in the ocean out to that raft?" And he said, "I never saved anything for the swim back." And it's not even an analogy. It's like this really amazing mindset where if you turn around, you're going to drown. So you better just keep going until you get to the point where you can stop and rest, or you can get to that next plateau. And so this is not me talking high-minded. I think I've never really considered that going back was going to be better than pushing forward. You kind of keep moving in the direction, even if you're recalculating, recalculating. Even if you're recalculating what your end goal is, turning around and going back is maybe it's too damaging. When I was an undergrad, no one ever talked about mental health, never. When I was a grad student, occasionally you would hear people talk a little bit more about their kind of that element of their life. But in the last 15 years that I've been here, I've watched every year more and more the openness and the kind of courage and the bravery that my students have. When they talk about their lives, they talk about, all parts of their lives, and mental health is a really major part of it. I don't generally have issues that I suffer from. And I don't incorporate issues around mental health into my work. The openness and the kind of, honestly, the bravery and the honesty that the students are bringing to the work now more than ever really encourages me, frankly, to interrogate how much to give and how much to hold back, and how much is for me and how much is for everyone, and how, what that relationship looks like.
Congratulations, all clear. See you back on the blacktop.
1 foot out the door, 1 foot in the grave. I do what I want, you do what they say.
I can tell you that I talked to so many colleagues across the country last semester in particular, and they were all, without fail, teaching remotely. Normally the studio would feel really, really like tired in the morning. I'd come in and no one's here, and I could almost feel the studio breathing. But now there are people in the morning, and they're here, they come in for their session and they work, and there's people in the afternoon and people in the evening, and that's been a real benefit to the practice of printmaking here, and whether the students like it or not, it's better for them. than 20 people in a room fighting for 3 tables at 2 o'clock in the morning. In my intro class, 7 or 8 of them had never had a class on campus before. Never had a class on campus before, and this is their first class and only class on campus, the intro class. Amazing, they went to the university for the first semester of their lives from their parents' basement. Now they get a chance to come to campus, wearing a mask, cleaning up, signing in, all that sort of extra stuff, but across the board positive. So I think if I run out of energy and the place gets stale, that'll be the time for me to leave. Oh, will I be sad? Oh, I mean, who knows? I mean, I think at some point you get to a point in your life where you want to move on, or you want to hand it off to somebody else. But I was hired young here, and so I've been here for a while, but I've still got many years ahead of me. And I continue to think about how fortunate I am to have this opportunity as a job, but also to have the space and to have the kind of conceptual space and time to think, and that to be valued as an artist, and to then try to give that to my students.
Being the best within yourself, all that stuff will come. Right. I hear people say, get your money on, get your money on. I hate that. I hate, and that's your motivation. If you do well, the money will come.
That's what I know.
You know what I mean? And quit focusing on the money.
Right.